Jimmy, would you like your eggs scrambled this morning? Yes. Jimmy, would you like your orange peeled? Yes. Jimmy, would you like butter on your toast? Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Roth. As always,
What?
joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, 172nd episode 172. Going to talk about average today. How are you doing? It's great to be with you on this recording day.
You could say we could double that number essentially, and that's how many we can track how many hours we've spoken in our lives and stared at each other's eyes. It's pretty amazing. That's a lot of hours talking to a guy that I assume is actually in Oklahoma, that I assume is actually doing Google Ads work. I've never seen it other than the super professional t-shirt he's wearing.
Not a t-shirt.
I'm good. You're right. It's a collared shirt.
Chris, I've been thinking about you with this whole weather banter thing, like when people ask you how you are and then you immediately go to the weather. And there's all these people that are out there that are like, do we really have to talk about the weather at this point? Like, is that what we're down to when people talk to the weather about the weather with them? And I was thinking about the other day and I was like, no, those are dumb people, because the weather is monumentally important to all of our lives. Going back in the day with farming and providing food and nurture and all that kind of stuff, to shelter, and even to the modern day, we have to worry about the weather and natural disasters, and it impacts our day and all that kind of stuff. So the weather is actually monumentally important, and I want to hear about it every time I ask you how you are. So
it's a little warm. Summer has just gotten a quick little stronghold on fall, and just like, no, don't leave yet. You can't leave into fall. And it's pulling us up into the 90s, which is, everybody's upset about that. But tomorrow, fall punches summer right in the face, and it falls back down into the pit, and we enjoy cool weather again. So that's my update, and back to you. All right. So let's talk quickly before we get into the juicy stuff. We got some great stuff to talk about because, guys, Google Ads changes. You remember yesterday? Okay, that was yesterday, because today things are different. And today, that'll be different tomorrow. So that's why you're listening here, because we keep you up to date. And we've got some juicy stuff to talk about today, what's changing in the world of Google Ads. Oh, that's right. You thought it was Google AdWords. Oh, that changed too. Did you not know that? Literally the name changed too. Okay, let's talk about a tool to help you when you can't grasp all the changes that are happening in the world. Optio, opteo.com/PSP to get a 6-week extended trial. This is a special service directly for the Paid Search Podcast listeners. You can try out this great tool that sends you emails, that alerts you, that says, hey, did you realize ... there's something going on with your position, with your search impression share, with your keywords, with your campaign. Impressions just stopped. Did you know that? No, you didn't. That's what this tool is for. Go check out optio.com/PSP, a great tool. We recommend it. We thank them for their sponsorship.
Thank you, Chris. And I want to tell everyone about our new sponsor to the Paid Search Podcast, Kyle Solarud's Adleg software suite. Kyle is a friend of the show, and Kyle came up with a group of software tools that are made specifically for AdWords managers and AdWords users, Google Ads managers, Google Ads users. Kyle's come up with a group of tools that are literally the things we've been saying on the Paid Search Podcast for years. Like when I'm telling you guys how I, back in the way old days, how I group keywords together to come up with ad groups. When I'm talking about searching Google to find new keyword ideas, when we're talking about coming up with negative keyword ideas, all this stuff where we're like, hey, someone please make a software for this. It would be great if we could speed this up. That's what Kyle did. And in the Adleg software suite of tools, you've got the Keyword Burst, you've got the Ad Copy Generator. Keyword Burst helps you combine a bunch of keywords together. We'll talk about that in a second. Ad Copy Generator helps you speed up your ad copy process. Negative Keyword Pro helps you find negative keywords. And the amazing Keyword Generator makes sure you don't miss out on keyword ideas. It helps you find keyword ideas. So just to talk about the Keyword Burst, the Keyword Burst does an amazing thing. You list your locations. So say I'm doing a moving company in Oklahoma City. I list out OKC, Oklahoma City, local, near me. Moore is a suburb, Edmond is a suburb, Yukon is a suburb, local, all the kind of local ways that people search for things, which are the best keywords. Then in your ad group columns, you type in your keywords, your core keywords. In one ad group, I could put in movers, moving companies. In another one, I could put in long distance moving companies, state to state movers. Another one, I could put in office movers, commercial movers, office movers, commercial movers, office moving companies, commercial moving companies. And what this tool will do, you hit generate spreadsheet, and it will combine the location words you put in, local, near me, OKC, Oklahoma City, etc., with all the keywords you put in, movers, moving companies in that ad group, in the office moving company ad group, office moving companies, office movers, commercial movers, and so on. And it'll combine all those combinations, exact match, phrase match, broad match, modified, whatever you want to do. And then all of a sudden, you have ad groups and you have keywords and you have all the ways you want people to search for it with all the local ones spit out into a spreadsheet. You put them in your account and it goes super fast. So that's one of the tools. There's other tools, and you guys can get a free 7-day trial. Go to software.adleg.com/PSP. We'll link to it in the show notes. Software.adleg.com/PSP. And you will get a free 7-day trial that's exclusive to listeners of the Paid Search Podcast. We recommend you guys check it out. It's literally the tools we always wish we had. Speeds up a bunch of time, saves you a bunch of time, and we recommend you get your free trial today.
Okay. So, Jason, I always like, before I just pour my heart out on giving free information to people, I always like to be encouraged. Do we have any encouraging things that people have said to us lately?
Yeah, we have actually 2 Apple Podcast reviews of this week. Oh, and we're not going to read them. But you know what, Chris? I am going to sneak one of them in there. It's the same one from last week. I just love reading it. The guy from the UAE.
No, you can't read that one.
Okay.
No, you can't.
Wow, someone got their feelings hurt. I'm not going to fall for
that again.
Okay, yes, Chris. I want to thank Natalie, the experientialist from YouTube. She said, left us a comment review. Thank you for all of your hard work. I found your podcast on Spotify a few weeks ago, and I have binged it to the point that I am not even sure what Netflix is anymore. You have inspired me to pursue my career further in PPC. As of yesterday, I am excited to announce that I have just gotten my first personal client. Yay. Without your podcast, I would never have won the business. Well, Natalie, thank you for the encouraging review. That's what we're here to do, help people learn about Google Ads, and then we end up talking a lot of business of PPC as well. Coming down the pipeline, and yes, it has been made official, the PPC Professional Freelancer Starter Kit from Jason and Chris. And we are going to help people like Natalie who've maybe gotten their first client and want to become one of the biggest freelancers out there. So that's going to be coming soon. We've got the Paid Search Podcast forum.paidsearchpodcast.com. Ask people questions in there, talk about your industry in there, whatever industries you're working on, business of PPC, general Google Ads questions. We love the forum. And then the archive, very soon, within the next couple of weeks, we will have the first 100 episodes out there for you to purchase and enjoy. And we appreciate your guys' support. Keep sharing the show. Keep leaving us ratings and review on Apple Podcast. And we're also on YouTube for all the audio listeners. So, Chris, something changed with Google Ads in the past couple weeks. Yeah. And they have gotten rid of average position. Average position, obviously very important. If you listen to a lot of our older content, we harp on it and talk about it a lot. It's just, we'll get into it, very important. But now it's gone. And I've come up with a list of what to do and how to overcome that. So let me ask you first, Is it totally gone for you?
Yes. Yeah. At this
Okay,
point, yeah.
totally gone. Someone was
I
saying
just
it's
noticed it
it's
last week.
yeah, I noticed it about a couple days ago. Was gone in all my accounts. Someone on the forum said it was still in the app, but then I tried for them, and then I tried the app. It wasn't there anymore, so that's probably
Mm.
gone. And then the MCC level, manager account level, I was still seeing it for a couple days extra, and I was
Oh,
like, oh, it's still there, and I'm a happy guy.
still there.
Gone. It's gone now.
Gone.
Gone
Mm.
everywhere. So, Chris, we're just going to get into, I guess, first, just kick it off. Tell us what are you feeling? How monumental is this for you? Because it's pretty monumental for me. Or are you
So
cocky? Are you
monumental
cocky
that
now? Because,
no, no,
okay.
I feel, Jason, this is so monumental that I feel that on a show for people that listen uh, in a audio format, we should have a 3-second moment of silence for our friend Average Position. Let's have that now.
If you guys want some great Google
That
Ads
was it.
management, I
You
recommend you go to
literally couldn't even.
rothmanpplc.com and contact me. I'm on Twitter at
We
Rothman
don't have a
PPC.
sponsor
And I
for
also have
our
an investing
quiet
podcast
time,
called
Jason.
After Dinner Investor.
Oh
Oh
man.
man, Chris, you should have taken out your
We've
headphones.
got
You
two and a half
gave me a second to
seconds.
plug.
Two and
Yeah,
a half seconds.
yeah,
Almost made it. Well, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Seriously,
Okay, let's try
it's
it again. Let's try it
it,
again. It
oh
deserves some
no,
clean.
no way. No, we're not gonna. No, that's it. Time has passed.
Oh.
The honorable
You don't
time you
trust
have
me anymore, Chris.
shamed it. Okay, but
Okay.
yeah, I think I think there's good and bad news. I think for me, I don't want to jump the gun because I want to share my bad news at a much more poignant point in the discussion. But the good news for me
Yeah.
is that I actually like um, the the absolute top percentage and the top percentage columns more because it gives you a better idea of position more so than 1.1. I do like that. I'll share my gripe about it later, but where are you at, Jason? How are you feeling?
Well, as you'll see in the checklist here, I'm past the point of complaining or feeling sorry for myself. So, like you,
Well,
I'm just ready to move on and use the new
yeah,
tools we have. So honestly, I'm good with it because I have to be good with it, and that's part of the checklist.
yeah. And it's I don't really know other any other more optimum time to share, but I mean I'll share the thing that hurts the most is taking away a metric and not the fact that it's been taken away
Not giving
completely,
us the
but
option.
that now right, they haven't given us the option to see historical metrics. If I go
Okay.
back a year or 2 years, I cannot see absolute top percentage. Those aren't tracked. They weren't tracked. Those metrics didn't exist. So if I go back to 2017,
Mm,
this exactly 2 years ago, and I want to think, we were spending this much, but where were we ranking? Right? Where were we ranking for that? I have no data, which is
good point.
crazy to
Yeah.
think that I've now lost my competitive scaling point. I can no longer determine was $3 enough to get us to 2.3 position because we're paying 6 now and we're only 2.3. We were paying $3 back then. Where did that get us? Were we at position 5?
Yeah.
So I can't scale and measure that CPC cost. I have no idea what that $3 meant 3 years ago, 4 years ago, compared to what it means now.
Right.
That's honestly what hurts the most. I mean, that's the bad news for me.
Yeah, what hurts the most for me is, I mean, like I told you, we'll get into the checklist or the list here in terms of how to handle this. But I made I made a lot of money with average position. Like it's my North Star. It guided my management work. I'm willing to name my first kid average position, and I'm not kidding. Like that little column helped guide my work, and my work made a lot of people a lot of money, and they gave me a portion of that money. And we had a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube comment saying, "Oh, why are you in looked like one guy was like, "Why are you in prison?" And then the other guy was like, "No, go deeper. He's in a cell." And I was like, the reason it looks like this in here, because literally when we purchased this property, we cornered off one section of one room and made it plain, because every other square inch of this property is so opulent and so luxurious, all 15,000 square feet plus the acreage, that
plus the acreage.
if people had to care, like if people saw what I was in every day, they wouldn't take me seriously. Like it would lead to a lot of envy. Yeah, a lot of envy,
just
or
gold everywhere.
They would think this guy doesn't really just do Google ads. He's an arms trader or something like that. Like he's flying around the world, like starting wars. Like, no, this is so I got to keep it plain Jane. So yeah, so do your little YouTube comments, get it out of your system, have fun with yourself. I'll be where I'm at. So, but one reason I'm here is the average position. What do you have to say, Chris?
Mm-hmm. No, I was just saying there's nothing more fun than trolling our YouTube audience. Those guys have such a bigger platform than our audio listeners because they can punch back, and it's kind of fun.
They can't punch.
So I love going through our.
Because I'm
they can try. They can swing
the channel.
They can swing back. Right. Yeah.
YouTube. So anyway,
the audio guys miss out.
Chris, I'm not like people. I get the impression people listen to the show and they're like, "Oh, that's an interesting thing Chris said. I'm going to take it at face value." And then they hear me and they're like, "What an exaggerator! Oh my gosh, how can it? I can't even believe this guy." So if you want to think that. Yeah. But if I'm trying to tell you loud and clear, average position made me a ton of money. Like I relied on it. I made people money. They gave me money that I made them, a portion of it. How did I make that versus any other AdWords manager? I learned average position.
Yeah.
So it was a big loss for me. But as you can see, I'm not handling it like someone whose livelihood is at stake because average position is gone. I'm handling it like a pro.
Well, tell me about as a former expert in average position.
I'm still an expert in average position, and if they ever brought it back, I'd pick right back up where we left off, me and my baby average position. But so don't say I'm a former expert. Now, are my skills going to get a little rusty? Well, it's gone for a while. Yeah, I'll get a little rusty, but it's like riding a bike. As soon as if they ever do bring it back in, yeah.
Tell me how you feel about, let's talk specifically about each column that replaces this one column. Let's talk about first absolute top position. Absolute top impression share is technically what the term is. They don't even say position anymore. They don't even want you to realize that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's percentage and share. And
first, Chris,
so tell me about what you think about it.
Does anyone know of podcast school we can send my buddy Chris to?
Oh, come on.
Because I think
already did number one.
No, we didn't, Chris. We did not do it. No, we didn't. I teased it. We didn't do it. No,
we just finished.
No, we didn't. No, Chris, you're going to listen to this back and you're going to say, "I'm sorry I was wrong." And I would just like you to tweet that out. "I'm sorry I was wrong." If you truly feel that way, because you're going to see how wrong you were. Okay. So we talked about my personal, where I'm at. But the reason I'm there.
Please tell me about number one. Go.
I'm not gonna hold it against you because I think what happens is you get so passionate for this show, so passionate for the audience that when you look at the sheet we use to host the show notes, it's so jumbled because you've got so much passion goo filling your eyeballs that you can't even read the sheet where it says number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6, and then you go down the list. So we're going to start with number 1.
Let me help. I'm going to go ahead and edit this one and cross it out so that I say we're done with it. How's it? Is that?
No, because it needs to be conveyed to people. Because, Chris, step number 1.
There we go. Strike through. Done. It's done. So now number 2.
You know what? All right. You know what? You want to hold it against the people? You want to take number 1 from them? You want to take it from them? And they can maybe write into the show if they really want it?
I know you want to say this is
I don't
absolutely a
want to say. I don't want to
Jason
say. I don't.
message.
Why would I want to help everyone in
No,
the
no,
world
this
except
is
myself? I'm the only person
this.
on the planet that can deal with this way because have a certain personality, which
There
we
we
talk
go.
about on Patreon.
There we go with the exaggerations. Only person on the planet. See, that's why, Jason. That's why people think maybe it's not
Taking my
15,000
words
square
out of
feet.
context, and you're confusing listeners whose English is their second language, because obviously, only person on the planet. I was using it in a different context,
Oh, sure. It
but
doesn't
here,
actually mean
let's put it this way.
only person.
I take your point. Should I give you that much? Like I take your point. Like I see your point.
Okay.
No, Chris.
There we go.
Honestly, I
That's it.
really do think this is the most important step in the process.
Do
Number
it.
one,
Deliver it.
stop being a baby. Accept it. You have 1 hour to vent and get it out of your system, and then you have to let it go. That's a rule. So for 1 hour, you can cry, you can binge eat, you can vent, you can scream, you can yell, you can do whatever you need to do to get it out of your system. Because honestly, Chris, when it went down, when the news first happened, I was in denial stage, and then I got angry. I got angry and upset because it was a big deal, but I'm so past that now. So you can't just keep holding this inside because it's not your decision. You can't bring it back and it's gone. So if you relied heavily on average position like I did, you just have to give yourself 1 hour to vent, get it out of your system. But then forever, for all the rest of time, you cannot be sad about it. You cannot make excuses about it. You cannot be angry about it. You cannot talk about it in a negative context. It's over. It's done. And you have to let it go. So you give yourself 1 hour. Now, number two, Chris, absolute top.
Oh, now we're. Oh, no. Oh, I don't even get a say. So we just immediately.
It's not so.
Please continue.
No, Chris, do you have thoughts on the giving yourself 1 hour? I think it's a genius thing. I don't know if anyone else. Man, that does sound exaggerated. I don't know if everyone. I'll use the word everyone instead of anyone. I don't know if anyone. There I go. Just naturally came anyone. I don't know if. Yeah, anyone sounds good. No, everyone. It's everyone. Okay, humble. I'm a humble guy.
You are,
Chris.
the most humble.
I don't know if everybody can do it. I doubt everyone can do it just based on people's personalities and stuff. Some people are going to lose their clients. Some people are going to start losing money. They're going to blame it on average position. But do you personally, were you upset when it happened? Did you give yourself an hour and have you fully let it go?
Oh, I gave myself several hours. It took, probably a part of 2 days. Like being angry, going through one account and it being really important in one account and being upset. And then, I'm okay for these other ones. And then another account, I'm really upset about it. So I had much more than an hour. And the only thing, like I said, the only thing I'm upset about is the lack of historical data. That's what I get. That's what.
Okay, but you're saying you are saying in the present term you are upset about that. Don't you see how that's going to negatively impact your mood, your performance, your ability to get great results?
Because I'm so happy about number 2 and number 3. Number 2 being absolute top position, absolute impression, absolute top impression. I'm going to have to relearn these words. Absolute top impression share and top impression share. These two metrics I really like, and I want to get your thoughts, Jason, because I'm just the question asker. I want you to please talk about number 2.
I make fun of, like, we used to, I would text her, blah, 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 make jokes, but I need to talk with her seriously and need to get in a text conversation with her legitimately for just coping purposes. Like, her and I both need to give each other advice and tips on how to cope with you. Because you're referring
to my wife.
Yes. Because you're being extremely passive aggressive right now. And I want you to just stop. I just want you to stop. You don't have to keep dragging this out. You don't have to be passive aggressive. I want the old Chris back. I want the Chris I fell in love with back. I don't want to hear I'm fine. I want to hear
I'm here.
You're right. I'm playing games. We're gonna get back to the natural times. But I feel like there's a stagnant must in the air between us right now. And it's a stink. And You're holding a grudge against me.
I don't know what you're talking about. And I would like to know, Jason, what do you think about absolute top impression share?
All right, absolute top impression share tells you the location of your ad on the search engine results page. I can't even read these things. What I take it to mean, Chris, and we'll link to this article about absolute top and top metrics.
Don't read. Yeah, that's the mistake you made. Is you tried to read the Google press release.
I don't even
say what.
Well, it's a help article, but
those
okay.
aren't.
So the way I'm going to take absolute top impression share is something we used to call position 1.0. It's impression share, but it's absolute top. Absolute top. Absolute top. That's the very top. That's position 1.0. So if your absolute top impression share is 50%, that means for a keyword, that means 50% of the time on that keyword search, you're showing up in the very first position, 1.0. If it's absolute top impression share, 80% on a campaign, that means for all the stuff inside your campaign, 80% of the time you're showing up in the first absolute top 1.0 position above every other ad, above organic results. Is that above? I'm not even going to go there because who needs it? So
that's
I don't know the
actually a
answer.
question.
No, let's deal with it.
We'll talk about it after number 3. It'll be 3.5. We'll talk about it after we talk about the next one, because I that's a legitimate question. I want to hear a little
your jingle in my pocket right now. You want us to talk about that one? You want the monkey to dance? Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
You want the monkey to shimmy? Show me those $2 bills each month. Put them in my Rothman PPC polo. I'll give you a little preview show. Give me a little shimmy. A shimmy.
You guys, I'll tell you, for the $4 level, he'll dance for you on video, which is, I have to say, it's absolutely worth it. Highlight of my day. Okay, so tell me about top impression share and how do you, what kind of numbers are you looking for here? If we can talk real numbers and practical stuff, I mean, do you ever, or do you commonly see?
Stuff just started.
Well, okay, with the short amount of time that we have, do you see absolute top impression share at 100 very often at all? I mean, it seems like it's much more rare than what I saw as a 1.0. I saw a 1.0 a lot, but I very rarely see absolute top impression share at 100%.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it on some low volume, very high bid campaigns for sure. But now, like I'm saying, Chris, this is all brand new for me. Like average position, I was using it up until the last minute, just a few days ago. So, but why are we talking about absolute top impression share and top impression share? Because the whole point of this checklist is how do you deal with the fact that average position is gone? Number one, you let it go, blah, blah, blah. Number two, you learn absolute top impression share, add that column in. Number three, you learn top impression share, add that column in. Now, Chris, I add these 2 columns in. First absolute top impression share, then top impression share, right where I had average position. Like I'm putting them in the same spot because I'm treating it like basically what I'm doing with these 2 metrics is I'm using both of them to tell me what my average position is. That's what I'm doing. So when you ask about top impression share, first let's define it for people. We're taking that to mean, and I'm pretty sure we're correct, that's what percent of the time does your ad show above the organic listings at the top of the page. And it's not absolute. So top impression share could mean position 1.0. That's part of the top. It could mean position 2. It could mean position 3, and it could mean position 4. That's how I take it. What percent of the time am I showing up above the organic results in what we used to call positions 1 to 4? Now people would say, well, sometimes 4 was below or sometimes 3 was below. Well, that's why I guess they put in these new metrics, but I'm taking it to mean 1 through 4 above the organic results. So top impression share can never be lower let me make sure I'm saying this right. Absolute top impression share can never be higher than top impression share, but they both can be 100%. So if your absolute top impression share is 100%, guaranteed your top impression share is 100% too.
See, well, that's
Right?
what I'm wondering, because that's why I'd asked the question.
No.
I mean,
Everybody, forget what I just said. So
yeah.
yes, if your absolute top impression share is 100%, your top impression share is 100% too. That is correct. But you can have a lower absolute top impression share than your top impression share, and you probably will, because
But
absolute top impression share. Say it's 50%, Chris. Say that's 50%. You're showing up in 1.0 absolute top. But then your top impression share can be 90 or 100%, because what that would tell me
right.
is, okay, 50% of the time I'm in position 1.0, absolute top 50%. Top impression share says 90 or 100%. That would tell me, yeah, of that 90 to 100%, 50% of the time I'm in the absolute top. And then the other 40 to 50% of the time I'm in position 4 to 2 above the organic results.
Let me throw this situation at you and see what you think. There's some search out there that there's no paid ads at the top. Happens all the time, right?
Right.
Organic results, scroll all the way down. There are 2 ads. Okay. 2 ads at the bottom. Let's say you're in first position of those 2 ads at the bottom.
Your absolute top impression share is 0. Your top impression share is 0. They're both 0.
Okay.
If you
really,
were always,
you don't think? I mean, I don't.
No,
Okay.
I would think
so. Absolute top, because you are in first place.
No, absolute.
So if you show with
the word absolute means above. Absolute means the first thing that's under the search bar.
Okay.
Except for who knows if it's
top.
the other
so
thing,
both
which
of
we'll
them,
talk about on.
Right. Both of them would be 0.
Yeah, they'd both be 0.
If you
always
organic search
below
results,
the organic results, yeah.
Okay.
Because absolute top means absolute, the first thing under the search bar, basically. And then top means the top of the page above organic results, somewhere in that position 1 to 4, where they have that chunk of ads above the organic result. So the way I'm going to use this is I'm going to use them both to basically tell me what my average position is. So now, for our people out there that use automated bidding and then go to the forum and then complain about it and ask us why it's not working and what they should do. Sorry. Very rarely, Chris, on the forum do we get people going, oh, man, I was doing manual bids. Oh, and then everything changed, and I don't know what to do now.
Everything
I have
changed.
no control over the situation. Haven't had that one yet, because you know what? Manual bids are nice. Haven't had that one yet. But we have had people go,
if they're anything,
max
predictable.
clicks, but now I'm not getting anything. I'm doing target CPA, but it totally changed on me. How do you change it back? Those people, Chris, that do automated bidding, I don't think they even have to worry about these columns that much at all. So when I'm speaking to, because what do? They don't control their bids.
They don't manage by position. And that's why, going back to your point, to your original point, I mean, for some accounts, you have to manage by position. That's why manual bidding is absolutely the standard, because you can't manage by position at automated bidding. It has to be
manual bidding is, and average position is Chris and Jason. Like, this show doesn't work without either of us, yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing manual bids, what guided your manual bids? Yeah, it was cost per click. Yeah, it was cost per conversion, which we'll talk about. But it was also the sister to manual bids is average position, because that kind of lets you know where you're at.
Yeah.
So I still need.
Why would you bid higher if you're? Yeah. Why would you bid higher if you're 1.0 with 100% search impression share? You're not going to adjust your
You're not going to get more
there.
Yeah. So that's why
you're
used average position. So that's why I'm recreating average position. That's the whole magic to this episode. So for people out there that are trying to pick up on what the magic is here, the magic is replacing average position with absolute top impression share plus top impression share, and understanding how those two columns work and using that to replicate average position. So let me just give you an example, Chris. Manual bids, let me give you a scenario. Say my my cost per conversion is too high and I'm spending my full budget. What does that mean? That means lower the bids.
Mm-hmm.
Because if my cost per conversion is too high, my cost per click is too high, I need to lower the bids, lower my cost per conversion, and I feel confident to be able to make that move because we're spending our full budget. We're limited by budget. So
Right.
I'm going to make that decision, but how are these two columns going to guide that, how far I go? I'm going to look at my absolute top impression share. If that's 100%, I'm going to feel pretty good
You're
about
too high.
dropping bids 33%, a third, maybe by half, 25%. I'm just going to feel pretty confident. I'm always at the top 1.0. I've got a lot of room to go down, still land in position 2, position 3, and lower my cost per click, but still get clicked on and spend our budget. But then I'm also going to look at the top impression share. Say my absolute top impression share was, say it was 20%, okay? And then say my top impression share was 100%. That would tell me, okay, 20% of the time I'm 1.0, 80% of the time I'm between 1.0 and 4 at the top of the page, but I know from absolute top, I'm only at the very top 20% of the time. So since I'm only at the top 20% of the time, but I'm always 2 to 4, or I'm always at the top impression share 100%, I'm going to lower my bids, but I'm not going to feel super confident about lowering them a ton because my absolute top is already at 20%. So I'm going to probably aim to get my absolute top down to 0, drop the bids by 10, 15%, see how that does. Still try to get my top impression share at 90 to 100% because I want to show up in position 2 or 3 at the top of the page to get clicked on, and still spend my budget but lower my cost per conversion. Alternatively, if my cost per conversion is too low, or if it's lower than my goal and I'm not spending my budget and I have room to raise bids and get more aggressive, I'm going to look at those two metrics again, and I'm going to feel if my top impression share is below like 80% or below 50%, I'm going to feel really good about jacking those bids up. Because basically, I would say now national campaign, tons of volume, small budget, that's always different. But a local, state, or city campaign, $1,000 to $5,000 a month budget, you and I probably always were going for that position 2 to position 3 on average. Show up at the top, don't overspend, let the other guy pay more for his cost per click at the top. Sit at the top 4 where you can get clicked on and spend your budget, but don't pay for that super top position. So if my top impression share is way low, like below 70%, below 50%, I'm going to feel real confident maybe doubling those bids, trying to get that top impression share to almost 100%. Then I monitor my absolute top and make sure that doesn't get too high. So that's how I'm going to be using them, Chris. It's like going to be, it's going to be replicating how I used average position. The problem, people are pointing this out, those two columns, as I understand it, are not available on demographics. They're not available on device. They're not available on those subcategories. So if you like to change your bids at the device level, if you like to play around with demographics and ages and all that, you're not going to have that average position or absolute top or top impression share. Fact check me on that, Mr. Fact Checker, with your skeptical. I'm gonna face.
I'm gonna pull that up because I have an idea about that. I hadn't checked.
All right, Chris, you pull that out.
That's one thing that I.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, yeah, you pull that up. Check. Let me know when you've got that. I'm going to tell people about step number 4, how to overcome with average position. The preview tool. You got to use your preview tool now. You don't have that average position column anymore to guide your work. So we talked about steps 2 and 3. You use absolute top impression share. You use top impression share to kind of recreate an average position guide for yourself. But then how do you know if your judgment about absolute top impression share and top impression share is correct? How do I know if I see my absolute top impression share is 50%, but my top impression share is 100%, that I'm kind of sitting in an average position of 2? How do I know that way I interpret that data is correct? Well, I'm going to use my preview tool and I'm going to verify it. And I'm going to get really freaking comfortable with that preview tool, check it different times of the day, check it on different keywords. And I have my own, I don't take preview tool is 100%, Chris. Like I kind of let it, it's just another factor in my decision, but it is a way to kind of check yourself and check your interpretation of the impression share columns and see if you're interpreting them, the way you're interpreting them is actually showing up the same in the preview tool. So you're going to use your preview tool more.
Yeah. Well, one thing, just to check in and update you on.
Are you going to check in on
so
your
I've looked into
condition your condition is in?
I have good news for you. While the rumors are correct that you cannot see impression absolute top percentage, as they so eloquently put on the columns now, which is super confusing. The absolute top
That's a guy
percentage.
Who hasn't let it go. That's a guy who did not take his hour.
No, you're right.
To get it out of the system.
I need more. I need more than an hour. And the fact is, you cannot see that at the device level. You cannot see that at the device bidding screen, which is where you can adjust the bids for each computer, desktop, and mobile device.
Right.
Excuse me, computer, tablet device. You can't see that. But the good news is you can segment the data and see it. So you can on the
good call,
campaign
good
screen
call right there, bro.
Segment the data. That's the best way to do it. So go to segment, go to all campaigns, look at your campaign view, and then go to segment, which is towards the top, middle top of the screen, and click on device, and you can see those percentages there. So that's what I was. That's what I figured would probably work, but still, though, it's kind of annoying not to be able to see it.
That's so great to look at when you're on the keywords tab, and you see 3 different devices for a ton of keywords. That's great, but I appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah, it takes the screen and makes it triple the size.
Yeah. So on it, I don't know. That's so clunky that what I'll probably end up doing is just judging my absolute top impression share, confirming my judgment with the preview tool, but not putting too much stock because the preview tool, I have my own. I just don't go off of it 100%. So it's just another factor for me. But I'm going to let that be a factor for me. I'm going to make my judgment. And then if I am doing device level bids, Chris, I'm probably just going to make my judgment looking at the data and then maybe write down what my decision is and then head over to the device area and be like, yeah, drop bids a little bit, raise bids a little bit, whatever the decision is. So, yeah, Chris, so you look at your preview tool and then we'll knock out both of these. My only point here, Chris, cost per click, cost per conversion. It's just same old name of the game. Like, still make your judgments on them. Yeah, same thing. Like, okay, is your cost per click too high? Lower it and get it lower. Is your cost per conversion too low and you've got room to get more aggressive and you're not spending your budget? Raise bids. Now, like you're saying, Chris, earlier, the problem is, what if you're already absolute top impression share 1.0? What's raising bids going to do for you? Maybe not that good. So you still use absolute top and top impression share, but they still help guide your work with cost per click, cost per conversion. But my point, including those 2 things on the checklist, is, hey, don't forget about those. Still focus on those as a big guide of your work. So that's all.
Yeah, and I'll say, just as Jason's talked about, the thing that I really like here is that we have just a bit more precision simply by taking average position, which is 1 column, and splitting it into 2. We now have more precision in our ability to make decisions about what's happening. So not only can you see first position, but you can also see how much are you showing up above organic. So for me, I can make better decisions about cost per click and cost per conversion simply because I now have 2 columns instead of 1. It's giving me just a little bit more information about what's happening. I would say, maybe there's even a time when a 3rd column might even be useful, where we could see percentage of, absolute below organic, like how much of the time.
Absolute bottom.
Because that might be really interesting. Yeah, absolute bottom, right? So
that would be
interesting to know.
Really interesting.
What is my...
Say that's 100% and you still are able to spend your full budget.
Yeah. I mean, how cool would that be to be able to see absolute bottom percentage and know that your cost per conversion is actually way better, and you could get clicks. Your click-through rate is probably going to be crap, but you can get leads and sales at a absolute bottom percentage of 80%, and you're only top, absolute top percentage is maybe 10%, something like that. And that's,
Well,
now you have a guiding point.
You and I have both been there on big national, well, not big, but national campaigns, tons of search volume, really small budgets, and you get away with a 0.5% click-through rate in position 5 or 6, a 0.3% click-through rate in position 6 and 5, because there's just so much darn volume, and you get a super low cost per conversion.
I mean, because it feels like those kind of situations, what I like about an idea of 3 columns is because there are times when what you talked about is what we usually do, right? Which is where we manage a local campaign. We're trying to dominate top position, but also make it worth the cost per conversion, trying to manage the absolute top position, but not override our cost per conversion goal. So we're juggling that, but there's a whole nother set of campaigns where you're running just high funnel stuff, just stuff that has thousands and thousands of impressions a day. You're getting clicks at, 20 cents a click. This is a completely different thing. Essentially what you would lose on is you'd get 0% absolute top percentage.
Dude, Chris,
it feels like a hole.
Let's just think things through. You're welcome. I'm going to give you absolute bottom impression share below organic results. You know what that is? It's whatever's not in your top impression share column. Don't be skeptical. No, say I'm correct. Say I'm correct, Daddy. Say you're correct, Daddy. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
Say, Daddy, you're correct. So. No, people are listening and they're being like, no, Daddy's correct. Chris, forget absolute top, okay? Forget it. If your top impression share column is at 50%, 50% of the time you're showing up at the top above organic results, what are you doing the other 50% of the time? You're showing up below organic results.
But see, but what if you have a 50% search impression share? So I guess you don't really take that into account then. You're just saying these are the ones that you got impressions on.
You want me to get real right now? If I hear, we can get realer. If I hear one more thing out of your mouth, out of anybody's mouth about search impression share, other than just telling you what it's supposed to tell you, what percent of the market are you showing up on? I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to take it, but I will judge you and anybody else that talks about it like it's something that Moses walked down and had on the tablets, like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not steal his oxen or whatever. Thou shalt worship at the altar of no false gods except impression share. That's what I think you guys think he put on the tablet. I don't know what this only impression share, just impression share fetish is, why it gets so much more insight than what percent of the market am I showing up on. So no, I don't use that to judge this position nonsense or not nonsense stuff. So
I hear you.
If top impression share is 90%, that means 10% of the time you're showing below organic results. So now you have if you have a super high funnel, super high volume national campaign and a small budget, and you want to show up as low as you can go, position 5, position 6, first page, but at the bottom, still get clicks, aim for a low top impression share. And if your top impression share ends up being 20%, that means 80% of the time you're getting what you want. You're getting clicks below the organic results. Yeah.
You know what? Perfect opportunity to use that one thing I don't think I've ever used, and I've never found a purpose for it: custom columns. You could create a custom column. Have you ever used this before? I've tried, and
it's one of those things that, I try it out. I'm an expert in. It's just I don't find a need for it week to week. I have no clue what custom columns are.
Well, you can create these custom columns where you could say,
I think I've heard the term before. I have no idea what that is. No idea.
Well, what you could do is you could say, create a custom column, call it bottom percentage, and just subtract 100 from your top impression share.
Do they
and there you
really
go.
give you that
Now you
option to
have,
do that with? Do you
yeah,
really
you
have that
can.
option? Wow, that's cool.
I don't know. Now I haven't checked. I haven't checked to see if it will allow you to use top impression share in your custom column.
Mhm.
But please, Jason, tell us about the sponsor. I'm going to look that up. We'll continue from there.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to tell everyone again about our new paid search podcast sponsor, Kyle Solarude's Adleg software suite. Kyle's offering a free 7-day trial to listeners of the paid search podcast. There's a number of tools in this software suite. They're specifically for Google Ads users and Google Ads managers, and they're the things we always wish we had. One of the tools in there is the ad copy generator. It's a list of questions, your location, keywords, what you offer, what you sell, what separates you from the competition, describe the things you offer. You put in all those kind of terms in a form, what you want your customers to do, calls to action. You put them in a form. I love saying this about software. You hit a button and then it generates a bunch of ad ideas for you. It generates a bunch of headline number 1 ideas, headline number 2 ideas, description ideas, a lot of description ideas, site link and call out ideas. And then all you have to do is copy those and paste them in your Google Ads account. Making ads is the biggest time suck. It takes the most time for me when I'm building out new campaigns, and the ad copy generator will save me a bunch of time. So I love this tool. I love this software suite. Software.adleg.com/PSP. Software.adleg.com/PSP. Get your free 7-day trial for being a listener of the Paid Search Podcast.
All right. I want to tell you guys about opteo.com/PSP, Optio. You know, I didn't know how to say it right until I learned how cool the tool was. You too will learn how cool the tool is and learn to say it the right way. I used to call it Opteo, it doesn't matter, because once I realized how cool the tool was, I tried it, I liked it, and I gave it the respect it needed. Go check it out. Get your email results, get your alerts, sleep better at night because of the great tool has got your back. That's what it's all about. All right, Jason. Last thing here, bad news for you. The only thing they give
Not
us.
for me. I have a brain, so I can look at top impression share and go, "Oh, it's 50%. That means the other 50% is below."
The only thing they give us is average position. You can't subtract impression, top impression share. So that's out. You can't create a custom column with that. So,
all right. Well, you can also you just eyeball it, and instead of going for 80% or 100% at top, just go for 20. Go for 30. You know what I mean?
Some of us like precision in our Google Ads campaigns. Others like to eyeball. You know, just let's draw the line between Chris and Jason.
No, bro.
Precision.
No, bro. It is
that's
precision. It is precision. It's just going for a different number. Instead of going for a high precision number, just go for a precision number at the low end.
ChrisShaver.com for precision Google Ads management. Thanks for watching. We're going to jump into Optio and talk a little more. Have a nice day.